Everyone, I'm here today with NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Chad Finchum of Motorsports Business Management. Chad, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on today.
I was as I was researching for the interview, I was finding wins, championships, all these just accomplishments of yours. When you look at your career so far, what stands out to you as either your proudest accomplishment or moment, or accomplishments?
Well, that's a good question, and through my career, I feel like I've had a lot of success, and it's uh, it's definitely been a good drive, a good road up to where I'm at today, and obviously, making it to the Xfinity Series and having a full time ride with a team like MBM Motorsports, and the opportunity that Carl Long has gave me. There is a blessing, and obviously that's one of the highlights of my career because I've always said since I was little that I wanted to make it into the top series, into one of the top series,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been able to accomplish that. And if you go back and look at the career, there's a couple races and things that really stand out to me, and one of them is the Bristol win in 2016 that I got with Martin McClure Racing, and that win was very special to me for multiple reasons. One of the biggest reasons is Bristol Motor Speedway. I mean, I live in Tennessee. I live an hour and a half from the racetrack. I went there, both spring and fall from the time that I was born till I started racing there myself, as me and my family would go watch as fans. And then Eric McClure being, right there in Abington, Virginia, and through the Tri-Cities area, being kind of a local team to me, and kind of being a team that evolved outside of the North Carolina realm,
Mm-hmm.
and then them picking me up and me driving for them, and then that be our first race out together. It was just very special, and it's a race. It's a race and a win that I'll never forget. And I would say if I had to go back and pick one memory to relive in my career, it would be that one.
I've seen that that win come up a lot in interviews and highlights about your career. Like going into that race, was there a feeling of, okay, this is my shot, or going into it were you like, man, I can win this, or man, if I just get a solid finish, that's all I'm looking for with this?
Well, coming up through my career, I felt like we had always had, we had always done our own stuff. We had always had our own team. We had always ran out of our own shop. I was always in the shop, hands-on, and it was just a small group of friends and family that pitched in, two, three, four of us at most. And when we got really to late models, that is where the budget met the competition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we said, okay, we can run very, very competitively at this level, but anything past that level, if we try to do it ourselves, that's where you started seeing, okay, we can't afford that, so we're not going to be as fast as the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it anyways. 2000, I think it was 12, 13, 14, something like that. We bought our own K&N car. We bought over-the-wall fireproof suits, and we built the car in our shop, motor, chassis, body, everything you could think of on that car. And we went and ran it at Bristol, and I think we qualified like 25th, and we finished like 7th. And that was a huge day for us. We was very excited and very happy over it. And I always said, I was like, man, for what we did with this car, if we could just get with a team that provided a top end car under us, I think we have a shot. And we had won a lot in late models, and you've always heard these stories when
Mm-hmm.
you go back and watch these documentaries of drivers getting the phone call. Rick Hendrick calls so and so, or Richard Childress calls so and so, and I kind of was in that mode. We'd won a lot in late models, and I was waiting around for a phone call to go drive for Richard Childress or something like that. And I was young then, and kind of didn't grasp the whole reality of things. But when I kind of had that moment when Eric McClure rang my phone and said, we've been watching you at Kingsport, and you've done a fine job. And he invited me to Kentucky Motor Speedway. It was in 2015. He invited me to Kentucky Motor Speedway. It was one of his last Xfinity races, and we sat down. I went the whole weekend with him, sat on top of the pit box and with a headset, and he basically told me, he said, I'm looking to step out of Xfinity, and I want to create a K&N team, and I want you to be my driver. So I kind of worked with Eric McClure and the guys at the shop through the off season, and kind of went through the motions and seen everything that was done. And the car that they built was brand new out of Billy Hess's shop. And I knew going into that race that I had every part, piece, and component underneath me to have success. And I knew that that was on a big stage on TV at a big NASCAR track with a lot of eyes on it. And I wanted to, like you said, I felt like that was my shot to shine. And you can't never really call your shots. There's so many things that can go wrong. But I knew that if there was any time for me to get it done, it was then. And we did it. And I really feel like to this day, that is what propelled my career further and led me to Carl and running for him in Xfinity.
What sparked your interest in racing, and who was your favorite driver? Who did you aspire to be like when you were growing up?
So growing up, my parents and grandparents were huge NASCAR fans, and it was like a ritual. On Sunday, we would go to church. We would leave church. We'd go get Kentucky Fried Chicken, and we would come home and turn on the NASCAR race. And they were all big Earnhardt Senior fans. And so I grew up in a Dale Earnhardt loving family, and still to this day, I've got all kinds of pictures and plaques and clocks and die casts of him and his son. And I just grew up watching Earnhardt and everything he did. And I know that when he passed away in '01, I was really young. I was probably only 6 or 7 years old when he passed away. And it's hard to comprehend a lot of what he did, but I've continued following his son, Junior. And, man, really to this day, those were the two guys that I followed and wanted to be like. And there's a lot of great drivers in the sport, and you take something from every one of them, whether it be Gordon, Johnson, Casey Kane, or Tony Stewart. There's so many great drivers that's been in our sport that I've tried to implement certain things after. But I would say if I had to pick one as a whole, it would have been Dale Sr.
That's, if you're going to choose one, that's a great one to choose.
Yes.
So we were, I was telling someone the other day that growing up, we, like my family was fanatical about NASCAR, and like more specifically just like Earnhardt and Chevrolet, to the point where my mom, when she was born, her initials were GMC. So we were not allowed to pull for any like Ford or Dodge or anyone like that. You had your Chevrolet drivers, and that was it. And eventually that was relaxed a little bit because my dad was always a huge Mark Martin fan. So then we were slowly allowed our one Ford driver, our one Dodge driver, and all of that. So
that's cool.
So when it comes to drivers, in today's racing, we expect instant success. Wins, berths in the championship chase. Whenever you're driving for a smaller team like MBM, how do you accept the realistic goals and see that, finishing that top 20 or that top 25 is an incredible victory for that day? How do you get into that mindset?
Well, it's tough, especially with the background that I had and everything that I felt like we were able to do. My first race for Carl was Dover 2017, and that was a track that I was really strong at in a K&N car. Ran, had a lot of success there, and when I got that ride, we go to the shop. I put my seat in the car. I'm mounting everything, getting the pedals, steering wheel, everything set for me. Carl said no. He's like, if we go out here and we can run 25th to 30th with a clean race car and bring it back in one piece, he said that's a win for us. He said, don't beat yourself up if you find yourself down about that. And, at first that was like, that kind of hit me hard. And I was like, wow. And we get to the racetrack that morning, and I remember telling myself, like buckling in for the first practice, I was like, man, I feel good about this. We're going to go out here. We're going to run well. I'm thinking, I go out there, the car's actually driving pretty good. I felt like I had good speed. I was driving in the corner deep. I was picking the gas up early, and I crossed the start finish line, and I'm sitting here thinking in my head, all right, they're going to radio up and tell us like, you're P11 on the board or something crazy. And I I brought it to them in the garage, and they radioed up. They're like, "How's it driving?" I was like, "Good. Where are we at on the speed charts?" They were like P24, and I was like, "Whoa, you got to be kidding me!" And so that was kind of a reality check. And going forward every week, through that rookie season, through that partial season in 17, and then the rookie season in 18, it was a big learning curve. And we get out to 2019, and basically here was my goal. My goal was to, every track that I went to in 2018, I took my best finish, and I said, my goal in 2019 is to beat that finish this year. And I felt like we did an outstanding job of that. Some races didn't go as planned, but that's just motorsports. And but I felt like we did an outstanding job. And really, to answer your question, to how you have to look at success is, you have to find things from the previous race to improve on. So, like, from the spring race at Bristol to the fall race at Bristol, if I go out there and I'm 25th in practice, we qualify 25th, and I finish 23rd, when we go back in the fall, I want to be 24th or better in practice. I want to qualify 24th or better, and I want to finish 22nd or better. You always want to one-up yourself. So that's kind of the small victories that we at MBM Motorsports kind of go for.
Yeah, I think that anyone who is not who doesn't follow the smaller teams definitely does themselves a disservice when it comes to the sport, because people always ask me who my favorite driver is, and I sit there and I'm like, man, out of the 40 guys out there or whatever, there's maybe 2 or 3 of them that I don't want to see win. But even if that person wins, I'm sitting there cheering for, if it's y'all in the Xfinity series, if it's a Go Fast Racing in the Cup series, when I see Corey finish top 20, I'm sitting there thinking that's amazing. Even for your stats, I was looking, and I think that right now you're averaging about a 20th place finish this year. And I was sitting there thinking, man, that's awesome. Like, I know that's a huge win for the team. So I feel like if you're just rooting for, your top guy, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're only looking at that, man, my guy finished 10th or whatever today.
It's tough, and you have to accept that reality that you're in, and you got to know, for our team, I feel like NBM Motorsports has come a long way since I started with them in 2017. And, when I went there in 2017, the mentality was, let's finish, 30th or better with a clean race car. And now, if we go and finish worse than 25th, we're kind of hanging our heads about it and like, man, what could we do to improve on that? I feel like right now, on a really good weekend, NBM Motorsports is anywhere from 17th to 21st. And if we finish outside of that bracket, we're kind of not upset. We'll take what we can get, but we're always like, man, what could we have done to be in that 17th to 21st range?
So with all the stuff happening right now with COVID-19 and all, for you, what do you think racing will look like when we get back to it? Because I've read where some people are expecting this huge boom. They're saying, the smaller teams, this is an opportunity for them to maybe catch up a little bit. But I'm seeing other people that are concerned, and they're saying, man, I don't know how long it's going to take the sport to recover. And, they're concerned about the smaller teams. So where do you see that falling into?
Well, I don't really know what's going to happen. It's a crazy time right now, and the smaller teams obviously have less people, less employees, and less resources, less cars, the whole 9 yards. So if we go back racing, and if they decide not to cancel any of the races, I don't know how they're going to run and do all the makeups, but you're going to condense what would have been, an 8 or 9 month season. You're going to condense that down into like a 4 or 5 month deal, and you're going to be racing a lot more. You're going to be using your equipment. Your guys are going to be more tired, and you're going to have less time for recovery, whether it be on the race cars or service on the tractors or whatever. And I feel like it will be tough. It's still doable, and we'll find a way to make it work. But I do think it's going to be tough. I don't know exactly what NASCAR is planning on doing schedule-wise, but, I definitely look forward to getting back to racing. We had a great year going for us in the 13 car. We had out of basically, I guess it was 5 races that we did this year, our worst finish, I think, was 22nd. So, I feel like we're sitting, 19th in points, I think, and just really, really good start to the season. And I was with a new crew chief, and we had hit it off well, and felt like there was going to be a lot of success there this year. And it was a bummer to see the unfortunate circumstances of COVID take place. But right now, the main focus would be just to get everybody healthy and abide by everything that the government is telling us to do, and hopefully we can get back to racing real soon and continue our good luck streak.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Chad. If you want to let the fans know where they can follow you on social media, or if you want to have any plugs for your sponsors, I'll leave the floor open for you right now.
All right. Yeah, so I'm pretty active on all the social medias. I don't have TikTok, however. I'm still debating on whether to get into that, but Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are all Chad Finchum. And, just big thanks to all of our partners that stuck with us through this time. Smith Built Homes, local home builder here in Tennessee. Garrison Homes, local home builder up in the Delaware area. There's some really big players for us, Apple Barn and many others. You couldn't do it without all the partners. Motorsports is a tough sport. We're glad to have each and every one of them, and we look forward to getting back on the racetrack and having good finishing results for our sponsors and fans.